Hello and welcome to this short presentation giving you a bit of information about what the T-level is here at Moulton College if you are looking to join on to one of our agriculture programs. My name's Callum Munro, I'm one of the lecturers here, and I'm going to take you through a bit of some of the key information which you may need to know if you are looking to join us in September. So, as part of that, naturally, we're going to talk about the college and the farm. We're going to look about what you need to actually come onto the qualification, how it's delivered, how it's assessed, alongside the work experience you'll be doing alongside, and any extra qualifications you may be able to obtain during your time here. And then to finish off, we'll just talk on what the next stage of this process is. So first and foremost, a bit of an introduction. So that's myself on the left, Callum Munro. My specialty is time to lie in all things livestock, and I help out in the college labs doing dissections every now and again. We have Duncan, who is an experienced shepherd and used to own his own fencing business. Tony Gibson, he has been working as an agricultural lecturer for the best part of 30 years. We have Meg Mould, who works in all over everything agriculture here at Moulton and teaches on all courses. And then we have Jack Marlowe, who is the farm manager. Now, naturally, being a land-based college, we have access to specialties for all of the different industries, and we are able to draw on their expertise to bring them into lectures to help you if that topic is relevant to their specialties. And, well, most importantly, yourselves. Now, we try our best to be a student-led farm, and that means you will be involved in every aspect of, well, running a farm. So that could be including lambing, tupping time, sorting out the fences, or just cultivating the fields ahead of harvest. We try to make sure all of our students have at least one full day every single week where they are outside in the elements, getting on with the practical farming job. So, the farm in itself. Now, we're a 550 hectare estate, and we tend to split ourselves into three different areas with that land. We have arable, mainly consisting of combinable crops, grazing for the stock, and then the environmental projects which we're working on as part of the SFI. We have about 100 head of cattle, and we tend to split that into two, where we have our pedigree limousines, which we are trying to build up numbers with, and then we just have our commercial herd. We have about 600 yowls, and well, we've just finished scanning. It came in at 178% this year, and we are due to start lambing on, I believe it's the second week of March now. Now, naturally, as being being an agriculture student here at Moulton, there are certain things you're going to need for your time here. So, first of all, overalls. Okay, so whenever you are on practical outside, you are going to need a pair. So if you're doing a machinery practical, or if you're out maintaining the estates, you need to ensure you have a pair of normal overalls alongside some work boots. Now that's exaggerated when we are looking into the livestock side of things, and we need to make sure you have waterproofs, which you are then able to put on top of your normal overalls. Now, if you want to combine both in the form of a bib and brace, waterproof bib and brace, you are absolutely allowed to do so. Now, all of this equipment you are able to buy from the college. We have an agreement with a local supplier and we can get you them cheaper. But what we tend to find is most students like to wear, well, their favourite tractor brand. And we usually have a nice colourful array of students wandering around on the farm. Now, there's the last point I've mentioned there, and that's stationery. Okay, now I'm afraid, yes, we want to keep you outside on the farm, keeping busy, but at the end of the day, there is still theory work to be done, and that means being inside a classroom with a pen and notebook at bare minimum. So, in order to actually get on to the course, well, first things first, you need to achieve at least 5 GCSEs. Now, of those GCSEs, they need to include at least English, maths, and a science, and the other two we're not particularly worried about. Now, they need to be at minimum between a 9 and a 4, or a 4 and above. So, with the T level course, that is a 2 year course duration, and it's really important to understand that because you need to complete both years in order to get that qual. Now, if for whatever reason you don't achieve the grades needed for the T level, that's absolutely fine. We still have different options available for you. And that takes the form of our level 2 technical certificate in agriculture. Now, if you unfortunately didn't pass your maths or English, you will have to do that again here at college. Now, how I like to think of the level 2, I think of it like a progression qualification. Unfortunately, the grades haven't come back from your GCSEs, so as opposed to doing that 2 year T level, we do 3 years. 1 year is a level 2, and then 2 years onto the T level after completing that level 2. Now, that's not to say you have to go on the T level after the level 2. You can complete that level 2 just in that 1 year and then be on your way if that is what you wish. But what we tend to advise is for those to progress onto that T level once completing the level 2 certificates. So, now, here at Moulton, we are in our first year at the moment of delivering T levels, and what I'm going to do is just talk to you a little bit about what's going to be included. So, the T level is split into 3 compartments. You have the Common Core, the Common Pathway, and the Occupational Specialism. Now, that Common Core, it's generic across most T levels based in land. So we have health and safety, we have business, ethics, equality, finance, all those transferable skills where regardless of what industry you're going to go into, you should hopefully still have that understanding. Now, things start to differ when we go across to the pathways. So here at Moulton, we offer the occupational specialism in crops or livestock. Now, depending on the specialism you choose, depends on the pathway you take. So if you chose the livestock specialism, you'll be doing the livestock pathway. Now, in your first year, predominantly is going to be built up of, well, the Common Core with a bit of pathway and a bit of specialism mixed in. And in that second year is when that specialism really takes form. So it's not the end of the world if when you come here, you're undecided about whether you want to do crops or whether you want to do livestock, because we will teach you both. We will do our best to educate you in all aspects of agriculture. But when we get into that second year, that's when it's important to really have narrowed down your choice and decided which specialism you want to be focusing on. So this is an example for our current first year's T levels. So everything in orange, that's a lecture. Everything in green, that's a practical on the farm. The yellow is a tutorial, and the grey is independent study. So I suppose with the yellow tutorial, that is a time for you to sit down with your course manager to go over how you're progressing, making sure you're on track to achieve, and hopefully alleviate any worries you may have, well, about the course. Where we say it's green and practical, so what we've done this year is our occupational specialism. We are running that fully practical in your first year. In that second year, that will change, but that will become a lot clearer, well, now. So, the specialisms. Now, again, when you get towards the end of your first year, you need to have made your mind up about which one you want to be going on. Now, again, we will do our best to teach you as much of both as we can, but you could potentially still be assessed on whatever that specialism you choose. So have a think. Dwell on whatever interests you the most about agriculture, whether it's being out in the machines with the crops, growing things from the soil, or whether it's working in the life industry with livestock. Are you fascinated by, well, newborns, animals, and everything which goes in their day-to-day lives? Now, as I mentioned earlier, we are in our first year of T levels here, so I don't have an example timetable to show you for the second year of that. But this gives you an idea, okay? Now, that occupational specialism is really exaggerated in that second year. That's where the bulk of that teaching goes. And this is just a draft. This is just an idea. Then obviously the full timetable will be given to you in due course. But as we can see, that specialism vastly has now taken over in that second year. Now, how you will be assessed, okay? So you will have a Common Core exam. So that's all those transferable skills. You have that core pathway exam. So that's where you chose livestock or you chose crops. You have what we call an employer set project, which I'll give much more detail to you when we see you. And then with that specialisms, there's a synoptic assignment as well as the project. And again, much more detail will be given to you about that when we see you. Now, you will have noticed on the timetables there is well, a day off, and unfortunately that's not a day off, okay? What we expect here is for you to be out there working in the real world, getting industry experience on farms as farms are. Now, over the 2 years, you need to do a minimum of 315 hours. Now, in agriculture, you will soon be able to do that, okay? Now, what's quite important is we don't want the students to be doing this placement with family. We want them to go out into the real world when they're not going to potentially be given any benefits or unavoidable bias because of who they're related to. We want them to experience the work life as a work life should be without any sort of favours. Now, Obviously, in the modern world, there is a lot of remote working, especially if you find a work experience in an office, which is absolutely allowed. As long as it is a land-based organisation, you are fine to have that as your placement. So if you are in office-based placement, we ask for a maximum of that to be 20% done remotely from home, okay? And that's because we want you in the room with your colleagues, understanding and learning what working life is about. Oh, if for whatever reason we struggle to to get the hours, we can count 100 hours of the work you do here at Moulton towards that, and you will absolutely make up that time, especially around say lambing when we are full on. Okay, now naturally, alongside being a student here, we try to give you a bit extra. Now, I'm going to draw straight over to the potential extras. Now, these are qualifications which we will put you through as you being a student here. Okay, now these are quals which farm owners, business owners have told us they want the students to have ready for when you go through that door to see them. And that's first aid at work, the safe use of vet meds. We'll aim to do both of those in your first year. And then in the second year, we'll look at getting you your spray tickets as well as your telehandler license. Okay. Now, there naturally could be a small cost to these, but I can assure you it is heavily subsidized compared to what you would be paying if you were to go out and sort this out yourselves. Okay. Now, alongside those, we then have enrichment. Now, I'll give you some examples of where we've been so far this year. We've been to the Farm Business Innovation Show. We've been to Llama. We recently went to the IAE factory where we were given an exclusive behind-the-scenes tour of, well, how they build all their equipment. We've taken students to markets and naturally to local farms to see how different farms work. Now, we try to get our students out as much as we possibly can, and the vast majority of the trips we do are classed as optional. They're not mandatory for the course. Now, with these optional trips, it's important to know that there will be a small cost to them. Now, we're usually very good at getting tickets for free, being an educational establishment, but we cannot avoid bus fares, I am afraid. Okay. Now, these typically range from 15 to £20 maximum. So when you're coming here as a student, it's worthwhile just keeping in the back of your mind to have, say, £100 budget just for those trips for, well, paying for the bus fares. Now, if we ever need to go on a trip somewhere and it is absolutely mandatory for the course, required for the students, we will absorb all cost for that. Okay, so well, next steps. Now, when you complete complete the T level, you'll be leaving here with the equivalent of 3 A levels. Okay, so with that, you hopefully will be able to get yourself into university. You could go on to do higher apprenticeships, or you could straight away enter the job market. There's a potential for you to come on as assistant manager, whether that's going into nutritionist, sales, auditing. The list really does keep going on. As we well know, and you will soon be taught, agriculture is no more just sheep and wheat. We've had to diversify with the changing times, and part of that diversification has led us to develop skills in areas we really never thought we would. So, coming and learning about agriculture, it's not just setting you up to be a farmer, it's setting you up for such a wide variety of careers which you can then make the most of, giving those transferable skills you will learn by learning to be a farmer. So, the next step then. So, how we're going to be running this is interviews. So, what will happen is you'll be given an invitation to meet with either myself or one of my colleagues, where we will ask you a series of questions just to get to know you. It's not to trick you out, it's just so we can get an understanding of yourself, make sure you are a good fit for the course, and look if there's any extra support we can be giving you. Like I say, these will take place virtually over Teams, where you'll be given a slot, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you then. Now, naturally, this has been a very quick fire through on what the T level is. I'm sure you have a lot of questions, and please do ask them. Best way to do so is by emailing either myself or Tony. So my email's here at the bottom. That's callum.munro@moulton.ac.uk. And then we have tony.gibson@moulton.ac.uk. Any questions, please feel free just to do that. Or alternatively, you can always ring up to reception and ask to be diverted to me. And I will do my best to answer any queries you may have. Now, thank you very much for listening, and I hope to see you all soon in those interviews. Thank you very much.